All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a closer look at the actual complexities of dementia. We really want to look past those general assumptions we all hear and figure out what is literally happening inside the brain. And most importantly, we're going to explore some very practical, actionable paths for living well after a diagnosis.
So just to grasp the sheer scale of this condition, consider this for a second. There are around 850,000 people currently living with dementia in the UK alone. That is a staggering figure. But it also tells us something crucial. If you or maybe a loved one are facing this right now, you are absolutely not alone.
Now, the chances of developing the condition definitely increase with age. But it's worth noting that at least 42,000 younger people, meaning those under 65, have what's called young onset dementia. However, as we get older, those statistics shift dramatically. Right now, 1 in 14 people over the age of 65 has the condition.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, what is dementia? Then, recognizing the symptoms. After that, the 4 main types. And finally, treatments and therapies.
Section 1. What is dementia? Let's take a foundational look. The absolute most crucial point here is that dementia is not just one single specific disease. The word dementia actually describes a whole group of symptoms. It happens when the brain is physically damaged by a disease. And we need to be incredibly clear about this. It's absolutely not just a natural part of getting older. Not at all. It is a physical condition that literally alters the brain's chemistry and structure.
The reality is, the dementia journey is deeply, deeply personal. Because different diseases damage entirely different parts of the brain, the way dementia actually looks and feels varies wildly from person to person. So just because someone experiences a certain symptom doesn't mean the next person will.
Section 2. Recognizing the symptoms. Let's look at changes over time.
What's often misunderstood is that symptoms extend way beyond just memory loss. Sure, struggling to recall a recent event or repeating the same question is super common, but it also heavily impacts executive function. That means someone might lose the ability to follow a recipe step by step or balance a bank account. It can mean struggling to find the right word in a conversation. It can even mean experiencing visual perceptual difficulties, like totally misjudging the distance of a staircase or misinterpreting a reflection in a mirror. At first, these early changes might seem incredibly small, right? They're really easy to just brush off. But dementia is progressive. Over time, as more and more nerve cells in the brain become damaged and die, these symptoms get worse and progressively impact a person's daily independence.
Section 3, the 4 main types. Let's dig into the causes and differences. Okay, get this. There are actually over 100 known types of dementia, but incredibly, a massive 95% of people diagnosed will have one of just 4 main types. Let's break those down. Let's compare the 2 most common types. Alzheimer's disease takes the top spot. Inside the brain, these abnormal structures called plaques and tangles build up, creating a shortage of really important chemicals. This basically short-circuits how nerve cells communicate and eventually causes them to die. Vascular dementia, on the other hand, acts a lot more like a plumbing issue. It's caused by a poor blood supply to the brain, which is often due to a major stroke or maybe a series of tiny strokes. And without enough oxygen and nutrients from the blood, those nerve cells simply die off. The 3rd main type we need to talk about is dementia with Lewy bodies, or DLB. This gets its name from tiny clumps of protein that develop inside the nerve cells. What makes DLB really distinct are its unique symptoms. It often causes very vivid visual hallucinations, heavily disturbed sleep patterns, and even physical symptoms, like slow, rigid movements. And there's a reason for that. It happens because these exact same protein clumps, the Lewy bodies, are also found in people with Parkinson's disease. And the 4th main type is frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. We'll actually circle back to this in just a second, because getting the exact diagnosis, knowing specifically which of these 4 types you or your loved one is dealing with, is absolutely vital. Because as we're about to see, treating the wrong type with the wrong medication isn't just a waste of time, it can actually be quite harmful. Section 4, treatments and therapies. Let's look at the pathways to living well. While there's currently no cure for dementia, there are very structured ways to manage it. For Alzheimer's disease specifically, 4 main drugs have been developed. If we're talking about the early to middle stages, doctors might prescribe donepezil, rivastigmine, or galantamine. And for the middle to later stages, memantine is the one that's often used. But here is exactly why nailing down that diagnosis matters so much. Remember those Alzheimer's drugs we just talked about? Well, they haven't been shown to offer any benefits at all to people with frontotemporal dementia. In fact, they can actually be harmful if prescribed to them.
Instead, FTD might be managed with antidepressants to help with behavioral symptoms. And for vascular dementia, the focus shifts entirely to treating the underlying physical plumbing issues we mentioned earlier, like prescribing drugs for high blood pressure or heart conditions to stop any further damage. But hey, medication is really only half the story here. Our sources highlight that you can build a highly robust, multifaceted care plan using non-drug approaches too. This includes cognitive rehabilitation with a professional to actually relearn daily life skills. It involves life story and reminiscence work, pulling out scrapbooks and photos to draw on early memories and boost emotional well-being. It includes therapeutic music and creative art sessions. It even covers complementary therapies, like using soothing lemon balm and lavender aromatherapy to ease agitation, or trying out bright light therapy to help fix those disrupted sleep patterns we mentioned. I want to leave you with a couple of vital questions pulled straight from our source material. Next time you see a doctor, try asking them, are there non-drug treatments I could try instead or maybe first? And what specific changes should I be keeping an eye out for and telling you about? Asking these questions really empowers you to advocate for the best possible, totally customized care plan. Look, a dementia diagnosis is absolutely life-changing, yes, but by understanding exactly what's happening in the brain and by combining both medical and holistic therapies, there are proactive, genuinely meaningful ways to continue living well. So what steps will you take today to start building that care plan?